Well, hello and welcome and good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Bitke, the COO with Dental Practice Solutions, and I will be your host. And thank you for all joining us today on today's webinar called Do You Want to Eliminate Last-Minute Cancellations? You know, by the response and number of registrants, this is one of our most popular webinars to date, so thank you for being here. And if you're on this call, you know what brought you here. Like most dental practices across the country, you are all facing a spike in cancellations. In some offices, it's an epidemic. And in a recent dental economics article, they discussed the effect of cancellations in an average dental practice. The simple math for an average practice with one cancellation per day in the hygiene department, and that's the hygiene department only, it's a 12% loss in production. Folks, that's a conservative $60,000 loss in annual production. Now, and this doesn't even include any cancellations that may happen with the dentist. And that's money you'll never get back. And you can't add more days in the year. So Debbie's presentation today is identifying several ways to help your practice eliminate last-minute cancellations. Most of you will take copious notes and have a number of takeaways that you can share with your office. And, you know, you're going to be motivated with what you hear this evening, no doubt. But here's a reality. With the best intentions, you will try to implement it and do it on your own. Of course, you know, that's going to be the least cost way to do it, right? But let's face it, you're already busy. You're already working full days. Now, and you know, so now somehow you're going to have to come up with the time and the energy to implement these changes and then stay on top of it. Well, let me ask you a couple of questions. Will you lead the initiative? Will you be able to change your office culture? You know, will you be able to change how you communicate with each other in the office? Hopefully, you may change how you communicate with your patients. Well, this is what Debbie and her team at Dental Practice Solutions does. You know, they help dental practices reach new levels of performance, and we do it extremely well. And in 2014, of the offices Dental Practice Solutions worked with, the lowest increase in production was 34%. So now about tonight, later on we're going to have a special guest speaker. His name is Rick Williford. And Rick is the founder of the Williford Group as well as Dentometrics. And Rick is also one of the co-founders of the Academy of Dental CPAs. So we will hear now from Debbie Seidel-Bitke, the founder of Dental Practice Solutions. Debbie was recently honored by Dentistry Today for the 10th consecutive year as a top consultant. Debbie has over 35 years of experience as a dental professional and educator. And Debbie has devoted herself to working with dentists, developing programs and systems that increase profitability. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Debbie. Debbie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Greg. Well, I am so full of joy and excited about tonight because we looked at the list tonight and we have about, and I saw the people when we started this webinar just a few moments ago, we have over 100 dental offices throughout the world. I saw the names. We have dentists from all over the world on this webinar, so that's very exciting to me, and thank you for joining me. The reason why I think this is such a hot topic is because cancellations, they have been an epidemic, and most recently I started looking up some words in the dictionary. It's kind of fun for me to do that, and I really think that we have in this world today, worldwide, a pandemic of cancellations. Now, I'm going to date myself, but I remember back when, Greg told you, I've been doing this for over 35 years, and I used to be a hygienist clinically, 5 and 6 days a week when I was back in my 20s. And I remember Monday mornings were so boring because when I got to the office, we had so many last-minute cancellations. I mean, patients were calling in over the weekend and leaving that dreadful message that they couldn't make it to their Monday morning appointment or their Monday afternoon appointment. So it's still going on so many years later, and this is the reason why dentists, many of them, since 2010, I can remember back to 2010, and it seems like yesterday, but they started calling me. My phone was ringing off the hook for doctors wanting me to fill the hemorrhage in their schedule. They wanted help with that. So I believe that we have a pandemic situation with cancellations. So surveys report that up to 10% of dental appointments are canceled. And you heard Greg what he was saying. I mean, dental practices are losing typically one appointment a day due to a cancellation or a no-show, and the lost production just each day in your dental office is going to be, well, it's cutting into huge profits, 6 figures. And empty chairs hurt both your practice and it hurts your patient as well, because we all know that optimal oral health can mean a longer and healthier life for our patients. And that's what I believe our overall message should be today with our patients, so that they understand how much we care about them. Patients don't care about what we know, but it's how we make them feel when they're in our office that makes the difference. And patients, they want to know that we care about them. That's when they'll sit up, listen, take action, and schedule for treatment, and actually want to pay and come back to your office. So showing you care is a huge result for patients coming back to your office. Now, I just wanted to give you a short overview of what we're going to cover tonight. Do you want to increase profits in your dental hygiene department? Especially, that's my niche in the dental industry, is the dental hygiene department. Do you want to eliminate no-shows? That's obviously why you're here. And do you want to reactivate hygiene patients? So I'm going to show you how to do all of this on tonight's webinar. I'm going to also show you some of my client successes, and we're going to end this evening with Mr. Rick Williford. He's a dental CPA, and he's got some financial planning background with his accounting firm, only works with dentists, and now he designed Dentametrics, which I really enjoy providing those key metrics for my clients, and it's what's helped us to sustain no less than 34% increase in production with our clients for many years. And Rick's only had Dentametrics for a year now, but I find it so easy to help my clients sift through their numbers. So we're going to offer you some solutions here tonight. One of them I'll start out with is building value, and I'll show you, and we're going to actually work through some things tonight. I'm going to ask you to actually put in the chat box some answers so that you can take this back to your office tomorrow to start using words that paint pictures and build value. I'm going to show you some ways to build patient incentives, and I believe that patient incentives are what will definitely motivate your patients to come back to you. I'm going to show you how social media has helped many offices to keep in touch with their patients even when they're not coming back to their office for the next 3, maybe 6 months. And then Rick's going to end up showing you that financial dashboard, which is how we can measure your key metrics. So I wanted to share with you these pictures. Since I'm not in your office right now with you, and we're not able to do a live role play. That's what I love, doing live role plays with our clients. But let me share with you these photos. You see the lady on the left with her patient. Looks pretty nice, right? I mean, she looks very professional, and I mean, that patient is seated in the chair, and what I like about this is she doesn't even have a bib on. It's something that I believe is subliminal, but there's one tweak I'd like to make in this picture, and that is seated. I would like for the clinician to be seated eye to eye, knee to knee. I want eyes to match your patient's eyes, okay? And you be at the same level. There's just something subliminal that occurs with your patients, making them feel like you really care. Now, on the right, we have another great photo of the doctor, the clinician, working on their patient. However, I'm going to show you something in a moment here, but I really think it's important, again, when we're talking with our patient, to let them know what we're going to be doing in their mouth. And then if there's a way for the clinician, the assistant, to be in a different position, that's very helpful. So I don't know if your computers are in the back or on the side, but I wanted to talk just real quickly about proxemics. And this is something subliminal that helps with our patients to understand how much we care about them. That's seated eye to eye, knee to knee, and it's, you know, with, I would say, 18 to 24 inches between you and that patient, and just spend a few minutes talking with that patient without a bib on them. You're seated at the same level as the patient, and that is what will help add value from a proxemics point of view. This is a psychology thing that patients don't even realize what's happening, but they feel like you care about them. So you can see right here, I switched it out. You can see the patient doesn't have a bib on, but this is knee to knee, eye to eye. And look how this woman over here, instead of being back at the computer, over here, proxemics also gives that patient a feeling of safety, even though they're not, you know, they're not consciously aware of that. But the patient looks to her right and sees the doctor. She can look to her left if doctor's speaking to the assistant and see who doctor's speaking to, rather than if the patient were to look around in that other picture. What did she see in this other picture? The patient, the assistant's back. So it's just a value-added, subliminal type of caring that I like to suggest you add with your patients so they understand how much you care. Pictures, not only the words and your action, but showing your picture. Now look at this lady on the left. The patient's lying back in the chair and pointing out. But look at this one over at the right. I mean, which one do you think adds more value? Wouldn't you say the one on the right where the patient's holding a picture of their teeth and they're looking eye to eye? See how their eyes are meeting? This is so much more of a deep connection. And hopefully you can see my cursor there moving back and forth. But there's a deeper connection, and subliminally that patient is more likely to say yes, where this patient's lying back in the chair. They don't have as much control as this patient who's eye to eye with the clinician. So the other thing is, when you're making the appointments and when you're talking with your patient, it's meeting the eyes, okay? Make sure you make those the physical contact, not necessarily touching, but physical, meaning your eyes meet their eyes. It just has so much more of a deep, caring type of meeting. So it's also one of the things that I want to talk about with value is called, it's a marketing term called value proposition. And this is used in marketing, this term, but it's a promise of value that's delivered. It's the primary reason why your patient will say yes to accepting your future care for them. So think about that. We talked about value, subliminal. It's the way you're seated with that patient, the way you make eye contact with that patient, the way that you show them what's going on in their mouth. And I'm also now going to ask you to explain to me, and I want to ask you, and Greg is now looking at your comments section. You can type in some words. How would you explain, or what do you imagine this clinician, this is maybe a female dentist here, talking to the patient? Let's imagine this patient has advanced perio Looks like we've got some mobility on these lower anteriors. I see a lot of supra and subcalculus, a lot of inflammation. And gosh, this is a great looking man, but he opens his mouth and this is what we see. How can you use some words? What adjectives would you use? What do you imagine this doctor is using with the patient to add value for this patient to want to accept treatment? And please type in some of those words that come to your mind that add value to that patient wanting to schedule the appointment. And I say wanting to schedule because people buy what they want, not necessarily what they need. So you can tell your patient, oh, we found this tartar, this calculus. It goes under your gums. But patients really care about how you care about them. And if you can show that you care and use words that communicate something valuable to that patient, you're going to go a lot further with getting them to return to your office for care. Here on the right, we've got some decay starting. This patient probably doesn't have a toothache at this point, but what are some words? And I want you to type those into the chat box. And I'm going to ask Greg to come over and share those words with me in a few minutes because I want to know what kind of words. I want you to do some work here so that you can go back to the office tomorrow and share with your team members some words that you are thinking about that add value to the patients. And I'll talk about some more words in a little while. Now, one of the things I want to talk about are patient incentives. And patient incentives are shown, it's been researched that if we add an incentive, our patient is more likely to come back. They have a strong desire to show up for their appointments and keep their appointments when they're given an incentive. It's how most of us work. I hear people talk about these Viva cards and the care to share. But I want to talk with you about something that I know has a very cost-effective way to keep patients coming back for their appointments. And it is proven to stop cancellations. Now, when patients have been researched, what is one thing that most of your patients want? Do you know what that is? Yes, some of you said it. I know you did. It's whiter teeth. 85% of the patients that are researched, when they're asked what they would like to change about their teeth, and you can go back to your office tomorrow, and if you're not already doing this, at least have the hygienist start asking if there's one thing that you would like to change about your teeth, just anything. Money's not an object. What would that be? And most of your patients will say whiter teeth. And so I have partnered. A few years ago, a dental company came to me, and they said that they wanted to partner, and they would give me at a very low fee. I pay a very low price to get their whitening gel. It's probably the same gel that you're using today. And we actually are able to buy the syringes from Germany, and we custom imprint those syringes with the doctor's name, website, and your phone number on them. So I have added that as a bonus for you. And whitening doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but you're paying for these bigger companies to add these catchy names like Zoom, like Boost, and you're paying for those names. It's like you're paying a lot of money for a Nike tennis shoe. Well, you're paying a lot of money to have these type of words on a syringe of whitening gel. But think about this. Do you want to promote Zoom and Boost and these other names, or would you like to promote your office? So if you would like to promote your office, take a look at what I've offered you, and think about that, because until Valentine's Day, it's $307. That includes shipping and 100 syringes. So I put that for you as a special for Valentine's Day. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, what happens when a patient calls to cancel? Do you know what's being said on the other end of the phone when a patient calls your office? This is a true story. I was working in an office. I was their consultant. And a patient called, and she said that she could only get her hair done on the same day as her dental hygiene appointment. So what do you think happened? Well, the lady who's the scheduling coordinator actually came to our team meeting that day, and she complained about how this patient insisted on canceling. And she was complaining to us. Can you imagine that? And it's funny to me because I was telling them people will call and cancel for the silliest reasons. And it's the job of the person who is answering the phone to explain why that patient needs to come in. So hopefully the clinician has written some notes. Maybe there's heavy subcalculus, tartar, you can say to the patient. Or maybe you notice that the patient had bleeding gums, and you know also that they have high blood pressure and a history of diabetes. So when they call to cancel that appointment, talk to the patient about why they need to come in for their appointment tomorrow and not cancel, because oral health is related to optimal health of the body. And they have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, and we know that waiting to come in for the hygiene appointment is only going to help, it's not going to do any help. It's not going to be of help for diabetes. Probably going to make their diabetes even worse when the periodontal disease is, as we saw in that one picture. So it's the person at the front desk who's taking that cancellation call. It's their job, their role, to understand the benefit to the patient and the value for them keeping that appointment. And also understanding what are the hot buttons of that patient. Is it time, money, fear? One of those reasons, we all have them. I mean, I haven't had time to go to see my hygienist, and I know I need to. So it's, you know, if I have periodontal disease, which I don't, it's going to save me time to be there with my hygienist on a routine basis rather than calling consistently to cancel my appointments. So let's think back to those two mouths that we were looking at. We have the one with some advanced perio. What are some of the words that you think of that would add value to this patient for keeping the appointment?
Actually, Debbie, there's a couple folks that had written in perio disease, gingivitis,
Okay.
cavities.
Yes, yes, decay. Oh, let me see. I'll get back to that picture. Yes. Okay. So the value is that looks like this patient is probably going to lose some teeth. So if we can remove this calculus here and get the gums healthier, we can possibly tighten up that mobility. So we want to talk about the bleeding gums and the gingivitis. And also this patient probably has some systemic problems as well that are contributing to that. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Probably the periodontal disease was there, and that exacerbated the other systemic conditions. This patient over here, let's say that this patient with the decay starting, they have a fear of coming to the dental office. So once they have a toothache, they're going to be spending a lot more money and time in the dental practice. So hopefully they can come in now and not spend a lot of time in the dental chair. Just some ideas. Thank you for those of you that wrote in with some answers. Now, another thing that's really helped our clients, and it's a lot of fun too, and many of my clients, I look at I like all of their social media sites, and I highly recommend that you have a Facebook page. It sounds like a lot of work, but it really ends up being a fun thing if you can just post a few snippets of information about your office, some pictures. One of my clients, she participated in the Halloween candy buyback program. And so they put pictures before the event telling all of their 600 people. They have 600 people. Once you have 600 people that like your Facebook page, you are now categorized in Google, which means that your website is more easily found when somebody's searching for a dentist in your area. So remember that Facebook does have an important role in patients finding you because now you're categorized in Google. But it was really fun. They put out the information about the special that they were having about the candy buyback program, and then they had a lot of really fun pictures of the kids coming by with their candy. And they had 20 pounds of candy that they turned in, and they donated a lot of fresh fruits to a woman's shelter. 20 pounds of fresh fruit in return for the 20 pounds of candy that was turned in by their patients. So the doctor had a lot of credibility and just a lot of people talking about her in the community. It was written up in their local newspaper about how she benefited not only her patients coming by, but also the community and that women's shelter donating the fresh, I think it was some apples and other fruits that she donated 20 pounds of. So she got a lot of attention. In fact, she told me that she got a new patient from doing that. So I highly recommend that for that reason. It just helps your patients to keep in contact with you. I mean, if you're having a raffle each month, they'll just stop by and, you know, throw their name in the fish bowl for a free toothbrush or free whitening that you're giving away that month. Also wanted to talk about an app. This is by Solution Reach. All of my clients are now using Solution Reach, and I'll show you the results of them using the Solution Reach. It's a patient engagement system, and they have a mobile app. The mobile app is wonderful. For example, you can push messages to your patients about their oral health, and also if you have a new patient, they can fill out their, well, they can take a picture of their insurance card and send it to you ahead of time, and everything is HIPAA compliant and it's safe and secure for patients to send their information. Let's say you have a patient calling on the weekend. Maybe it's Sunday afternoon and they have a toothache. You can have that patient take a picture of the tooth that's bothering them, and they can actually send that securely to you through their Patient Reach app. They can pay their bill through the app, so it's a really cool feature. Don't you agree? So this information, along with your office information, can be synced. They also have an iPad that you can sync all of the information. Patients can give you a star rating, which is pushed out onto these other social networks, which is what aggregates your name into Google when somebody's searching for a dentist in your area. And that's how my clients have gone from 4 new patients a month. Last year I had quite a few clients that had a startup practice, and it was simple for them to get 4 new patients a month. But for them to reach 20 new patients a month, I can tell you that Solution Reach was their best friend in doing that, and it's because of all these little features. They have a lot more innovative features, which I'm not going to go into detail on during this call tonight. Solution Reach also has something that I really like, because it's going to happen, it's inevitable, that you will have some last-minute cancellations. It just happens, okay? There are emergency situations that come in to our life. It happens to all of us. And with the short call list, Solution Reach has an ASAP, and you can actually have these groups. So I know as a clinician that I had patients who only wanted to come at 7 a.m. or 4 p.m. Some people wanted to only come during their lunch hour, and those people are put into a group list. And when there's a cancellation at a specific time, that group list will all get a text message or an email sent to them within 90 seconds, and they can respond. Solution Reach is a two-way response, so the patient can say, yes, I want to take that appointment. Now within 90 seconds, imagine you will have that appointment filled. Just a lot of great features that they have. And one of my clients, I wanted to share some of my client success stories. Now, these are both clients that I'm going to share with you who have well, this one is a startup practice. And she came to me after 18 months of starting up her own dental practice. She was a hygienist previously, and she went back to dental school, and then now she had her own office right out of dental school. Not always recommended that you do that, by the way. However, she did that. Now, one thing she didn't know, and I know it may be surprising to some of you because she was a hygienist, but she did not know. She's very demure, very nice lady, but she did not know to pre-schedule her appointments. In fact, it was to the point where any patient who had treatment, she sent for pre-authorization through their insurance company. So we quickly put a halt to that. But when I came to be her consultant, she had about 200 patients within 18 months. Pretty good number. However, they were lost. They had gone MIA because she didn't know that she should be proactive in pre-scheduling their next hygiene appointment or even their next restorative treatment. So she averaged about at least 4 new patients a month. Her average production was $32,000, and because she was a hygienist, she was doing all of the hygiene alone. After 3 months of working together, she now was up to, 3 months later, she got Solution Reach month number 1. Very hesitant about it. Within month 3, she now has, I just talked to her this week, she has over 20 new patients a month now. But back in December, she had 18 new patients each month. Her average production 3 months into our consulting process, she went from 32,000 to 48,000, and she's up over 50,000 as of right now in 2015. Within 3 months, she actually hired a temp hygienist, and the first day that hygienist worked in her practice, the hygienist, it was a female, she actually saw $1,757 in hygiene treatment. And then out of those hygiene appointments, now remember these patients were overdue, but from that the doctor scheduled various treatment plans which amounted to $4,525. Wouldn't you say that's a big return on investment? She paid that hygienist $400 for the day, and this is her return for $400. And she paid me to be her consultant as well, but she had an amazing return on her investment. This is another dentist here in the Pacific Northwest, and he actually bought a practice that was dying. The doctor was getting ready to retire, and he just thought, you know what, I'm not going to even have these patients schedule a next appointment. So this doctor, unfortunately, he's an amazing aesthetic dentist, and a lot of extra, education and courses. An amazing dentist. And he bought this practice as well. So he has about $500,000 in student loans, and he pays about $500,000 for this office, and he thinks that he's getting this great practice. And he finds out it's like a startup. So he had to basically rebuild the office as if it was a new practice. And again, within 4 months of working with Dr., he got Solution Reach, and it was now listed in his area in Google as #1. He comes up #1. And his new patient numbers within 4 months are now at 20. And his net production increased by over 40% within 4 months, and he hired his first hygienist during this 4-month period of time. So I wanted to ask you, how will you know when you have become successful at decreasing your cancellations? Well, number one, your chairs will be full. But let me show you something. One of the things that I notice across the board is, we were talking with a potential client 2 weeks ago. It was actually the doctor's husband runs the office. And we were pulling the numbers, and they never look at the numbers. In fact, we actually had to show them how to run the numbers. And it's kind of scary, because embezzlement it's a big deal. I was talking to my colleague who does dental embezzlements. That's all he does, is handle embezzlement. And he said with computer software, these days, it's much easier to have embezzlement. And I'm telling you, if you're not looking and taking a deep look at your numbers on a daily basis, then you really don't know where you're going. So let me share with you what you should be looking at the very least, minimum. And then I'm going to have Rick talk to you about that. But one of the things I always look at when I'm their consultant is the unscheduled treatment. It's a monthly report of what's been unscheduled. In fact, I look at some numbers weekly with our clients, and we're seeing what is coming out of the hygiene department. What's treatment planned from the hygiene appointment? What is scheduled? Who has scheduled their next hygiene appointment? And I'm telling you, everybody, when I come to the office as their consultant, everybody in the office goes, we always, never does a patient leave without a next hygiene appointment. But when I look at the numbers, they tell a different story, and the numbers don't lie. So we're looking at the hygiene efficiency report, and I'm looking at that weekly, and I'm finding that there are 2 to 5 patients every week per hygienist that are leaving without a next hygiene appointment scheduled. And if we don't look, doctor is shocked when we talk. Doctor didn't know. But when I talk with the doctor and I'm saying, what happened to this patient, this patient, this patient? Well, yes, some of the patients are moving out of the area. Some of them are going to be living on the East Coast and the doctor's on the West Coast. So they're going to go to another dentist on the East Coast when they're living there. The other thing is that we're running a perio percentage report, and we always see how many of your adult patients are receiving periodontal therapy, because we know that over 70% of adult patients do have periodontal disease. And are 70% of your adult patients receiving periodontal therapy? Because if you say no, something's not right. Something's not right with the way the patient's being probed. I mean, something's not calibrated correctly. Now, to get more information about decreasing your cancellations, I know everybody likes to text. So I want to invite you, if you want to get more information, just spend a few more minutes on the innovative technology that I was talking about. If you want more information on that, send us a text. It's 503-680-3389. And then text the words reduce cancellations, increase new patient numbers, and we'll set up a time no more than 20 minutes to show you how that can be done. Do the same thing. You can email us at support@dentalpracticesolutions.com, and again, in the subject line, write in there reduce cancellation, increase new patient numbers. At this point in time, I want to invite my colleague, a very good friend of mine, Mr. Rick Williford. Rick, are you on the line with us? I think we've got Rick there. Greg, is Rick there with us?
Yeah, I think, Rick, all you need to do is just unmute your microphone.
Hello? Okay, let's see if maybe we can go back to Rick.
I think maybe I just unmuted it.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Very good, very good. You'd think a high-tech guy like me would know how to do something simple like that.
Oh, yeah, I know. You're very high-tech, Rick. I wanted to share with everybody on this call. We have so many people, Rick. We have a lot of people on the call tonight, and they're from all over the world. I see we have a lot of people from Mexico and India and the Philippines and Brazil.
Wow.
So hopefully you'll speak clearly. I know you will. Just joking, but I want them to see what you developed. Rick is the mastermind behind these key performance indicators here. And you've been so helpful to me, Rick. You saved me a lot of time and my clients a lot of time getting me those numbers. So thank you.
Right.
You ready to go? Show them?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right.
Well, with all the letters after my name, CPA, etc., I have a confession to make. I still don't like numbers. I like pictures a lot better. And I think most of the doctors and a lot of the staff, they signed up to be healthcare providers, not bean counters. And if they like the numbers too much, that's very unique. And I would say unofficially there's probably something wrong with them. But 90% of the people we deal with, just don't care for numbers. They're heading for the golf course or whatever. And a lot of time the staff isn't big on numbers, or you office managers go crazy because you just can't get the doctor to stand still long enough to see what's going on, or frankly, it takes too much time to get the data together. And so we came up with Dentometrics. It's a little app you put on your workstation, and you push a button once a month, and it uploads a snapshot of the practice to folks like Debbie to then get that to you guys so you can see what's going on. So Debbie, let's show them the first piece of eye candy there. So the dashboards we produce look like this. There's a lot of financial information here we won't go into this evening, but I think Debbie may give you a link later on as to where you could see some dashboard screenshots and stuff like that. It'll be dentametrics.com, DENTAMETRIX.com. But a couple of things are very important for you and your world, and that would be over here on the left. Debbie, can you see my mouse on your screen or not? Or
no.
Do you have...
Are you talking about right up in here?
I'm thinking go down to the second one real quick. Here's where I'm tracking the broken appointments and cancellations against some budget or goal that you set up. And so that would, the doctor on the way to the golf course to understand green, yellow, and red to see if you're in pretty good shape. And if you're in good shape in the green zone, say, you could manage by exception and not worry about that area more. If it got into yellow and towards red, you'd know to spend more time on that. But if it's okay compared to what you budgeted, then don't lose sleep over it and spend your time elsewhere. If we go straight down to the third item on the left, the accounts receivable aging, this is just a color snapshot of what your accounts receivable looks like, with the red being over 90, for instance. And here's why I like colors. You can see 3 years here, or 2 years, the prior year on the left, current year in the middle, and then the goal on your right. And you can see the red is shrinking. Well, the doctor and the staff can see that in 10 seconds, that we're moving in the right direction. But down to the last one on the lower left, here's the piece de resistance, and that is recare status by percent of your active patients. Red is the percent of your patients who have never, ever had a recare visit. Now, you'll have some emergencies. You'll have some folks came in on a Zoom whitening coupon. And so consultants like Debbie are thrilled if you get that down to approaching 15%, say. But she's seeing cases when we do this snapshot. This is sort of like a cone beam x-ray of your practice. She's seeing numbers of 50% of your active patients. We define active patients as having been in at least once in 18 months. But a full 50% are in the red zone and not in the recare program. Yellow is a little better. They've come in at least once for recare, but they don't have an upcoming appointment, so they're delinquent. And the green, they're playing by the rules. They have an appointment coming up in the future. Well, again, this is a lot easier to look at than going through a bunch of reports as the doctor's eyes glaze over, and it shows you trends. Prior, this year, are we getting better, approaching our goal? In the very top center, those two lines, red and blue, quickly show you what your gross production is month by month and cumulative year to date. But I want to go down to the middle section. It's production by procedure groups. Once you get your cancellation issues under control, then the next thing you need to turn to is what's the quality, that is, return to the practice, what's the quality of the kinds of procedures you're doing. And so these groupings in the middle show you in color. For instance, red would be crown and bridge, veneers, CIREC, that type of lab-related stuff. And you see that red is growing and getting closer to the goal that you might have in mind. Yellow is kind of drill, fill, and bill dentistry. That's not very profitable, typically. The green and the blue are fascinating because that tells Debbie and you at a glance, green plus blue is the hygiene department, not counting exams. But you'd like to have hygiene perhaps be 30%, 33% of the total office production. And if you look at January, it looks like out of the production there, it's about 30% is hygiene. But if we look a little further, the reason for green plus blue is that green is your typical prophy codes, things like that. Blue is your so-called soft tissue management, your perio codes. And notice the blue is growing as time goes on. Again, doesn't take a rocket scientist or somebody to throw this up on the screen in the staff meeting to quickly see our trend not only of growth, but the kind of procedures. Straight down bottom center is showing you the new patients. That dotted line is a goal that they set for themselves. Debbie, let's go over to the second one. Second slide. Up in the top center here, this is showing your gross production by procedures for each of the PPO plans you're signed up for, you participate in. And it shows graphically the top 5 plans, and a lot of folks don't realize just what percentage of their production goes through Delta, etc. And then down in the middle, we show production adjustments as a percent of gross production, and so you may have a lot of PPO up top, so you're getting your gross production up high. But as you all know, working on a PPO plan is sort of like eating soup with a fork, I tell our clients. And so notice down below in the middle, the adjustments are running between 15 and 20%. Again, graphically, it's nice to show that. And the problem is you and your consultant hoped for a goal of 10%. You're trying to get off of some plans if it's feasible. And in the program, we're actually showing you the top 10 PPOs you're in and the top 10 adjustments. So you can do a quick and dirty review and see which of the plans are most profitable and least profitable. Look in the upper right-hand corner, hygiene percent of gross production. They're showing us how close are we to that mythical 30%, and this practice is at 14%. You don't have to hit the doctor upside the head too much to see, hey, we're deep in the yellow heading towards red. All right? And so we also plot for you what percent of your hygiene codes are perio related. And we know that should perhaps be 30% in an ideal sense. You know that probably 75 to 80% of all your new productivity for the doctor comes through the hygiene program. So that's why it's vital to get that floor traffic in there every 6 months so the doctor has a chance for a look-see, see what's broken, wearing down, whatever. Debbie, how about the next page? All right, now this is a big deal. I'm not sure how clear it is on your screen, but up in the upper left-hand corner, this whole page focuses just on hygiene. Each hygienist in the practice, and we can plot up to 16 hygienists in your office, each hygienist has these graphs, as well as their production per hour, per day, per patient, all that stuff. But this is the summary for the entire hygiene department. And like the graph we had on the first screen, the red and blue lines in the upper left shows hygiene production, total dollars, month by month by month for last year and this year, and then the cumulative. But here's the magic. That dotted green line shows you what percent of the hygiene dollars using the right-hand scale came from perio. You'll have that graph for each of your hygienists. And so some of the hygienists in the practice may be hitting 30, 35%, and then there's one hygienist down at 10%. Well, this will point that out pretty quickly. Either she missed the memo, or it's time for a prayer meeting, or why is she not consistent with the goals of the practice, or what you think would probably be appropriate. Over in the upper right-hand corner, there's a bunch of procedure counts, scaling root planing, adult perio, arrestin, those kinds of things. Again, each hygienist has that, so you can see what those are. Down the lower left-hand corner, that dotted line above about the 80% mark, that dotted line automatically is produced for you. That's showing you what percent of the patients do get pre-appointed. Again, each hygienist has this, and so it doesn't take long to review this and to see that one hygienist is down at 20% and our goal is 80 or 90. What's going wrong with Susie? Did she miss the meeting again? We're also plotting down there, and this is optional, the green line, for instance. If you'll provide the data, this is showing you how much the hygienists have, I would say, quote, illegally, if you will, diagnosed, since a dentist is supposed to diagnose. But this shows how much the hygienist pointed out to the patient, encouraged the patient. And so your hygienist is talking to Susie and says, Susie, we've been following number 13 for 45 years now. I think it looks like it may be time for a crown. I would imagine. I wouldn't be surprised when Doc comes in, he's going to say that, it's time for a crown. And so when the doctor comes in, the hygienist would be talking to the doctor, co-diagnosing, so to speak. Say, doctor, patient and I have been talking about tooth 13. I told her I wouldn't be surprised if you said it's about time for a crown. As the hygienist is kicking the doctor under the chair, what do you think, doctor? And so a hygienist can do much more to support the overall practice than just the hygiene department. And reactivation calls you could track and things like that. How about the next slide? And that's the last one. This slide shows you all 16 hygienists on one page. This is kind of small here on your screen probably, but it can show you at a glance an overview of what percent adult fluoride is being done of total prophies or visits for each hygienist. This particular practice only had 2 hygienists. The upper right graph shows percent open time. The program can go into the schedule and determine how much each hygienist was scheduled for the month. And you and the hygiene or consultant would have put in your estimate of what they're going to be scheduled every week or every month. So like 144 hours a month on average would be working 8 hours a day, 4 days a week, say. So we know hypothetically how much they're available, and they may get sick for a week or go on vacation. You can alter that. But we can have the program get their actual time out of the schedule and compare that, and you don't have to go mess with payroll records and time slips and that type of thing. So there's a lot of good information here graphically that you can pick up on quickly. And so take a look at that dentometrics.com if you'd like some more detailed screenshots and discussion and have a chance to look over more. How about that, Deb?
Well, thank you very much, Rick. You have really saved me so much time and helped the clients, and I know they appreciate that you just have a link that they can download and it syncs with their dental software. So thank you for joining us and sharing what's helping the clients to be so profitable and make their life easier. Really appreciate it. So I just wanted to make sure that all of you are aware we have some special things for you because you're on this webinar. You can order up to 200 syringes of the premium gel. It's probably the same gel that you're using right now. And we do customize the syringes. Syringes are a little bit larger than what you're currently using. You can only buy these customized syringes from Germany like we do, and then we customize it to match your brand. So that's something special we're offering you. And then Rick, thank you so much. He's given all of you, if you're serious about taking your practice to that next level of success, seeing the profits like I told you our clients had last year, Rick is giving $500 towards a discovery call and a practice analysis. So it's for those people who are serious about doing something and changing the needle on their numbers in the practice. Greg, we have so many people. I think this is the biggest webinar we've ever had before, and so I think we probably have some questions.
Yeah, there's been a couple that have come up, and actually I'm going to get that first one to Rick real quick. Can you tell me how do I get the denometrics in my office? They do like how detailed the reports are, and they would definitely want to look over things like that each month. So,
yeah, they could check with Debbie, and it only takes about 5 minutes or so for us to call a staff person. Don't have to take the doctor's time, one of your admin folks, and it's like downloading an app onto your iPhone. You just click a link on your desktop, and you have the upload button there, and once a month, after the month is over, you click on that button, it uploads the data and creates all these charts and everything.
But
and
the client in the past, I know, I just want to make sure the doctor knows that they can't see the numbers. They have to actually speak with me. They have to speak with their consultant to see the numbers.
And the reason for that is we've found that a lot of folks who buy software like this, the novelty wears off after about 4 months, because this and all the other fancy software out there, we use the analogy, this is like a thermometer. It simply tells you the temperature in the practice. It doesn't give you the wisdom as to how to move the dials if you don't like where they are. But it sure beats having to fill out 2 or 3 pages worth of statistics every month to send off to somebody, or pour over the black and white, lists and charts and reports that come out of the software. We purposely wanted to make this a lot of information, easily at your fingertips, easy to read. Then if something seems broken, let's say accounts receivable is too high, then you can go look at perhaps the aging report in more detail out of Dentrix, or your new patient and your referral reports and procedure mix and things like that. But if everything's in the green, you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Rick. Greg, is there another question?
Yeah, we've got another one here. Kim's asking, how do I find out about implementing that short list for last-minute cancellation?
Okay, Kim, I wanted to let you know that I have set it up. If you have a cell phone in front of you, if you can send a text with your name, Kim, and then in the text, you're going to text 503-680-3389. And just write down cancellations, whatever, if you want to know about cancellations, put that in along with your text and the name Kim. And then I'll set up something with you. I'll have somebody from my office call, and we'll schedule maybe 20 minutes to show you how to implement that. It's very helpful.
Yeah, and there was a couple of messages that came over that they couldn't see the graphics, and I don't know. I tried seeing what was going on, but we apologize that some of the graphics might have been too small for some folks, but what we saw on our end, everything was good. It was full size. So.
Oh, what graphics? All the pictures?
Some of the ones with Rick's information.
Oh, okay. So yes, and please send us an email at support@dentalpracticesolutions.com, and I'm happy to send the PowerPoint over to you if you'd like to see those graphics. And you can also go to Dentametrics. It's Denta and then metrix.com, and Rick has some slides up there too as well. I've taken people over there.
So next question is from Dr. Westover. It says, I want to know what type of production I can expect if I do reactivate overdue patients.
Oh, Dr. Westover, I love this question. First of all, I wanted to just remind you, you do have that gift certificate. I think it's on page 3 of your handout. And that's from Denometrics, from Rick. He gave us the $500 certificate to give you. So if you're interested in changing that number, please let me run a hygiene efficiency recare number for you. I just need some information from you about your exams and para-maintenance and prophy patients. We just do some email communication about that, and I'll take a look at these numbers over the last 12 months. I will also want to let you know, so I can tell you your number for your practice, but Solution Reach, they ran research on their clients. Since Solution Reach has a financial monitor. It's a special dashboard for your recare and how many dollars have been reactivated and how many dollars in patient appointments are still out there to be reactivated. And what their research showed is that just by using Solution Reach, that they had an average of $129,000 per office who used Solution Reach. Now, my clients, as of last year, their total production, which all of them went into Solution Reach, and they had no less than 34% increase in the production. So the majority of offices that we work with, one of the things that I look into in the very beginning is that hygiene, efficiency, recare formula. And so what happens is most of our clients that we work with they're in the $800,000 range in production. And then imagine if you had a 34% increase on that. That, I believe, is $272,000 increase in that year. And most of our offices that we work with, I have found since 2010, a lot of offices who are in this range, it seems to be my target market, that they're in their $800,000 range of production, but they used to be, before this economic decline hit us, they were $1 million practice. So we're able to get them back on track. Pretty big improvement, right? Is there anything else, Greg?
No, I think we're kind of about 5 minutes over on our time, and I'd like just to thank everybody for their patience and their attendance tonight. There was a lot of information. Please don't hesitate to get back to us. You could always shoot an email to support@dentalpracticesolutions.com if you need some additional information. We'd like to thank Rick Williford for his time tonight and sharing the magic that Denometrics offers and what they can do for your practice. It's one of the best tools, and it'll make your job so much easier just to have a dashboard. Like, you like your car. You get so used to driving that car, and just, if you don't know your check engine light's on in your practice, this will let you know exactly when that's on. So. But Rick, I really thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Rick.
Yep. I want to add also, there's no HIPAA or personal patient health information uploaded, anything like that, so HIPAA's not an issue. And no one's wandering around in your system. You control when to push the data.
Great point. Great point.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, that's good for them to know. Thank you, everybody. I know there are people up in the middle of the night, so thank you so much. We'll see you on next month's webinar.